Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. One of the things that you can be guaranteed in Thailand, particularly this venue, is a nice lunch. I hope you enjoyed the lunch. This afternoon, we have a tremendous agenda, buffet of talent and engagement to offer. We have two presentations before the break, which are very practical in nature. And after the break, we have a discussion panel, which is going to be a highly engaging experience as well. So lots to stay for. The end of the afternoon, prize draw. Just to remind you, there's some high-value items which we will be drawing at the end of the afternoon. Please do stay until the end. And I think there might even be a glass of wine waiting for you if you'd like to join us for that. Whenever Hogan always has high hedonism scores, so I've learned to kind of go along with that, and we support that with a glass of wine occasionally here or there. Great, so we move on, and in life it's always helpful to have someone who believes in you, and even when things aren't particularly working very well. And I'm about to introduce someone who really believes in Hogan. And I was delighted when Dr. Nattavut contacted Mentis as a already certified practitioner with experience in Thailand, working with Kontai to use the tools for assessment and development. So I'm grateful to him and to his talented team. We're going to hear more about the practicalities and to introduce you to Dr. Nattavut. He's the Managing Director and founder of ADGES Consultancy, Thailand's leading leadership development and human capital consulting firm. The clients for ADGES are multinational and Thai companies, including GE, PTT, SCB, SEC, it's a lot of three-letter abbreviations, Nestle, Minor, we've heard from, Pepsi, and Pfizer. And he's also a frequent speaker on topics of leadership and strategic HR. Travels widely around Asia Pacific and beyond to deliver workshops including the GE Leadership Center in Cromptonville, very famous, Amex in Sydney, Singapore, Malaysia, and the Philippines. Dr. Nattavut has worked in very diverse and challenging careers before this current role of establishing ADGES, including investment banking. He was COO for Maersk Group in Thailand, the shipping and terminals company, and director for BMW Group in Thailand as well. And his last position before setting up ADGES was as the head of human capital consulting and the deputy managing director for Mercer in Thailand. In terms of credentials and academics, wait for this, it's quite a list. It's quite a list of achievements here. So a Bachelor's of Science in Engineering from Chulalongkorn University, MBA from the University of Colorado, 2 executive programs, one with INSEAD and one with IMD, and if that's not enough, a DBA, a doctorate in business administration, closer to home for me, Manchester Business School, which is a highly renowned business school. Can you join me in welcoming Dr. Nattavut to the conference? Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Really lovely. I couldn't recall that I write that introduction that long, you know. And I almost lose half of you already just waiting for Richard to finish introduce me. Apologize for that. Okay, so what's gonna be different this time? You know, I try to put my, and by the way, I'm not sure whether it's a good news or bad news for you. You know, I have no degree in psychology, right? So I tend to focus on practical thing and a lot of local practices, you know, and welcome question from you as well. So then maybe you just wonder, what is ADGES? Okay, so basically, as Richard mentioned, I work around and start with Accentures and a couple of business organizations and move back to Mercer once again. Quite happy to see a lot of my old colleagues here in the room as well. But the thing is, what I found is I want to provide solutions, right? When you approach client with consulting practices, okay, you might miss something. When you start working with a client with leadership development programs, something also missing as well. When you start using a lot of assessment, also maybe the whole picture is not clear, okay? So that's the idea behind why I just doing some weird stuff, quit my career with Mercer, right, and starting my own journey, right? I'm so lucky that within 4 years, working, setting up, running my own organizations, I gather along, partner who really believe in similar models, right? On a consulting side, we work with RBL. We are exclusive partner in Thailand. RBL, if you don't know the organization well, is a folk like Dave Orridge, which has been named as a father of modern HR, Norm Smallwoods, right? And then we also work with Blue Point Leadership. This organization provide leadership development for leading organizations, GE, Amex, that kind of people. And also, I'm really glad that we have quite a healthy relationship with Mentes, right? And then when Richard introduced me as our strategic partner in Thailand, we feel really proud because since the time with Mercer, I believe I'm the one who really proposed that maybe we need to starting with working with Hogan as an assessment, and then I'm not sure whether this fact is true or not, but I'm the Thai staff or Thai people who firstly certified with Hogan's, which is we need to verify that fact, okay, later, okay? So then maybe 3 things that we want to take next for the next 45 minutes, okay, which is quite a big topics, but I try my best, okay, because the problem with nice lunch is, I can easily lose you any moment, right? Sometimes, beyond personality is your own personal limitations. If you feel that you have to go, take a nap, just go for it. I do understand, all right? Okay, the first one, what make a great leader? This is not the first time that you has been challenged with this kind of topic, maybe 100 times already. But let's hear from another point of view, right? What is similarities? I just really like what Thomas mentions, leadership in the way is the old knowledge, 2,000 years old, right? And sometimes organizations love to invest a lot of time trying to perfect the old knowledge, just to realize that your new knowledge, your leadership differentiator is gone. Your competitor is just take away and running away with that. Let's hear from that perspective. Second one, why we are here, right? We are in the space of CEO, top leader, HR, we make things happen. What thing? We make organization capability happens, but how? Are you sure that the thing that you're doing in your organization is the right thing? Are we missing something? Let's quickly retouch on that point. The last thing, as a practical consultant, I would love to see make things happen, right? How, from my experience, working with the world-leading organizations and similar like-minded, ensure that your organization can take things forward, right? Not just another community models, another leadership development programs, what's missing in that ingredients? Let's find out, okay? The first one, right? If we track, the stock markets, the performance of stock markets, right? In the past, let's start with 1970 years till, today, right? Someone tried to measure the correlations, meaning that what if, in which degree that the past performance predict the future performance of your organizations, right? And then the outcome is something that look like this, right? The question that your track records is indicate how well you're going to do in the future. Your track record meaning performance indicators, right? In the past, the correlation is really high. But in the present day, moment day, it's not so much. Why? Okay, what is missing in here? Okay, investor these days looking into your ability to create a future, not just your past record anymore. So who in the position to create the futures for your organizations is your leader. It's HR as well to make sure that that organization capability exists in your organizations, right? Not the past record anymore, right? So that's even put the role of leadership in more significant manner, okay? So when you're talking about, okay, give me some trend, right? You just expect to have come into the events, into the summit, right? You expect to come back with some kind of latest thought in terms of leader. Well, perhaps something is not very, that's out of the world trends, still all same stuff. We're looking at two things, right? The first thing is leader and leadership. What is the similarity and differences? The second one is inside and outside. Okay, let's explore it a little bit further. When you talk about leaders, there's two familiar faces here, right? On the right, anybody know this gentleman, right? The late Steve Jobs, right? On the right, on the left, right? It's not so obvious. You spot anyone that you know? Who? Bill Gates, right? This is teenagers, look like he's still living with his mom and dad in the garage or something like that. He's look very young and junior, okay? What in it with this light, right? The blue line represents the stock price of Apple, okay? Sometime in 2009, you see a big dip in Apple stock price. What happens in that year? Can you guess? Yep. Steve Jobs said that he take a medical leave, right, for unknown periods, right? And stock markets answer, they're just selling Apple stock and everything is going down from that point onwards, right? What happened to Microsoft? By the way, the yellow line is represent Microsoft. Sometime in 2000s, Bill Gates say that, okay, I'm retired from the active and operation duties. I'm going to do some kind of philanthropy and supervise on the high level. What happens? Basically, nothing happens. Okay, what I'm trying to say in here. Okay, what Apples have is Steve in that moment, right? With Apple without Steve is not going to be the same Apples, right? So the key message is in organizations, right? If you start from leader and leadership, and inside and outside, if your organization manage to come up with the good leaders, very capable, inside organization know him well, right? Everybody respect him internally. Congratulations, you have competent leader within your organizations, right? But what if you have one leaders, outside organization is also believe that he is a good one, right? You have celebrity leader, the kind of the press and media chasing him around and are for his insight, right? Exceptional organization is move away from leader to leadership. They're building system, right? That's go beyond individuals. And then you have a good leadership system in place, right? If that system is known within the organization, inside organizations, then you have a good leadership system. But what if the outside organization also know that your organization is terrific, excellent in building leadership system, right? In the end, you get a leadership brand. And that's, my friend, a lot of investors, a lot of your new talents want to stay with you because they know when they join your organization, it's beyond compensations. It's beyond, the end of the month, I get this much, right? This is my future. This is my investment. This is my brand. Okay, so the purpose here is how can we move away from leader and trying to come up with a system that build a next new generation of leader. From inside into the outside. Okay, that's the challenge. Is it easier said than done for sure? Okay, so what if, what I like about Thomas' presentation is this is something that struggled with me all along. Every time when I meet with the clients, they ask, okay, doctor, can you help me design the leadership development programs? Okay, just say, okay, what you actually believe in terms of your leadership capabilities. It turned out to be like everything is look the same to me. How can you explain to me that organization in banking industry, telecom, you want the same formula of the leader. Something must be missing, right? And then that kind of thoughts, really glad that one of our partners, RBL, Dave Orridge, has been named as the father of modern HR, struggling with him as well, right? And at the end, as a professor from Michigan School of Business, he come up with the book called Leadership Codes. Basically, in this book, he trying to explain that let's start with the basic stuff. You also require that leadership capabilities. Other organization is also require the same leadership capabilities. Let's get this thing done, so then we can move on into something that differentiates us between two organizations or even more, okay? Since I cannot pay for his time to come here, so I think that I hope you don't mind if I have a clip that allow him to explain, what is the 5 domain that he believes that leader in organization need to have these capabilities, okay? If you got ready, please.
Hi, I'm Dave Ulrich. I'm one of the 3 co-authors of the book Leadership Code. We appreciate your time in listening to these ideas and hope they're as helpful to you as they have been to us. We began the discussion of Leadership Code with a very simple question. What makes an effective leader? What a great question. We have to confess, we're not the first person to ask that question. In fact, when we got on Google and we Googled the term leader and leadership, we got 20 to 30 million hits. We're way down the line in asking that question. So we decided to do something a little different. Instead of coming up with a whole new theory of leadership, we wanted to look at what was out there and find out, are there some major common themes that we can synthesize and integrate that describes and answers the question, what makes an effective leader? So we used a methodology that was really, really simple. We went to about 15 or 20 people who are, we think, the thought leaders in leadership. These are folks who've written 4 or 5 books each. They've done Leadership 360s for 15 to 20 years. They're people you would probably know. I won't list them all for the embarrassment of missing some that we went to. But these are the best we know. We asked them how many 360s they've done in their careers. The sum of that was over 2 million. Then we asked them 2 questions. Question 1, what % of successful leadership in your experience is basically the same stuff? All leaders everywhere, top to bottom, big companies, small companies, publicly traded, privately held, global, domestic, what are the central core things that every leader everywhere must be able to know and do? When we asked the percent of what that should be, what we found was a fascinating response. It ranged from 50 to 85%. Some said 50% is unique. Some said 15% is unique. Some said 50% is the same. Some said 85% is the same. Our take is 60 to 70%. 60 to 70% of what any leader anywhere has to know and do is the same basic stuff. Question 2, what is it? And these time our thought leader colleagues recommended their books. So we looked at their books. We looked at competency models from other firms. We combed the literature and we tried to say, what makes an effective leader? What is that core common set of stuff that every leader everywhere has got to do? We called that the leadership code. The code is the basics, the code book, the absolute core of what leadership is about. As we did that research, we found there were 5 things. If you think 4 corners of a sheet of paper and then a middle circle, one corner of the sheet of paper is a leader has to be a strategist. If you want to be an effective leader, you have to have a point of view about where your unit is going. At the top of the company, that's the whole enterprise. In a functional unit, it's your function. In a team, in an organization, it's your team. But you have to have a position about where you want your organization to go as you go forward. Second is you have to be an executor. You have to be somebody who's able to get work done, who has accountability, discipline, and the ability to execute and make sure that things are done and done well. On the other corner of the sheet of paper is you have to be a talent manager. Leaders, by definition, work with people. They engage them, they connect with them, they work with them, they communicate with them, and they help people feel like they're part of a good team. At the top corner of the circle, the 4th piece, is you have to be a human capital developer. You have to be somebody who builds the next generation in the organization. You have to be able to map the workforce, create a firm brand, and figure out what the talent is that needs to be there in the future. 4 roles of leadership: strategist, where are we going? Executor, how do we get there? Talent manager, who goes with us? And human capital developer, who stays when we're gone. What we discovered is most leaders are predisposed to one of those 4. Most leaders kind of have a natural act. I like being a strategist and figuring out the future. I like being a talent manager and working with other people. I like being an executor and getting things done. But then what we discovered in the middle is that there's a core factor that every leader has to master. We call that personal proficiency. It's not a role, it's a set of personal competencies that allow you to be trusted by those you lead. Personal proficiency deals with insights about yourself, with your ability to know yourself, to learn, to have integrity, to have emotional intelligence, to exercise good judgment. That's it. We think there's a code book of leadership, a strategist, an executor, a talent manager, a human capital developer, and personal proficiency that allows you to connect with others. That's this book. It's actually a very simple book. If you want to be an effective leader, here's what you must know and what you must do. And you look at where your strengths are. And so as we drafted this book and we looked at this massive leadership work, we begin to identify 4, 5, or 6 things in each of those areas that will help you be a more effective leader. Now, one of the things that we think is always helpful is looking at the leadership mirror. How do I rank? How do I rate? So we've got a survey online. On that survey, you can score yourself and do a self-assessment. And even better, you can begin to get data from others. How do others see me as a strategist, an executor, a human capital developer, or a talent manager? And based on that information, I can begin to make changes and improve my leadership. The purpose of this book is very simple. If you want to be a more effective leader.
Okay. All right. Just thank you, Kun Dave. This is not probably the right timing. Should I otherwise my boss gonna upset me with when he look at that clips. A couple of things that I would like to strengthen, or wrap up from my experience as well, and also hopefully it fits nicely with Hogan today. You hear from their personal proficiency, right? And that's, the tools like Hogan's really help. You need to understand personality of people you get on board, right? And more importantly, what I found is many organizations, you have no idea, basically. You're indifferent about, okay, what kind of personality that you want that talent into your organizations. That's really risky, okay? At least, as a leader in your organizations, as a HR, you need to make it different, okay? What kind of leader that I want, and then you have a tools that help you to predict, or make sure that you get the right people on board. But it's not another way around. The tool itself not going to bring values if you don't really know what kind of personality that you want in your organizations. Second learning point is we do a lot of assessment. It's by the way is a 360, right? Which is by the way, in many clients it fit very well with Hogan, model as well. Okay, and what we found is organization is sometimes come up with something very interesting. Some organizations really believe that, okay, this certain type of personalities, this certain type of, school that I want to get my talent on board, right? And at the end, you end up with a pool of talent that's perhaps very strong under the domain of strategies. But we can, guess what? What happened is CEO is screaming for the outcome, the result, where's my bottom line, where's my market share, right? Shouldn't be surprised because without the indicators, without being different in terms of personality, the chance is the organization might end up with the similar personalities, and that's very risky. On the other hand, we also find organization with a bunch of executors really good at dealing, bring the values and bottom line and market share, but I will be really scary, if I be that CEO in that organization because no one taking care of the future directions. Okay, so once again, personality matters, and then you can work with other assessment as well, just to try to understand where's the strength of your organization and weaknesses is. Okay, personal proficiency strategies, and all four. All right, but what Dave also mentioned is, come on, this is just 60% of the whole game, right? What most organizations missing is, how about the rest? The rest is what we call leadership differentiators. Not so many organizations really look into that. When I mentioned that, when I look at leadership development program for many organizations and requests, right? What I found out is the request is the same. And even more, we just ask, can you give us the competency models, leadership models, so then we can map with our domain? And many times, it's look the same among different industry or even within your own industry and your competitors. So that's very scary. It's meaning that when I start to show your CEO with, okay, let me start by showing you a clip. This is what you promised to your customer, right? You promised this, and that. And please connect the dot for me that whatever the promise, the branding that you want to make with your clients is reflected somehow in the process of talent development programs. The scary part is it's missing. So that means you promise something, but it's not there, right? And then I think we all can relate with the organizations who sell product and services that really fail to deliver what they promise and what that makes us feel about that, okay? So the idea is, okay, let's talk about leadership differentiators, okay? If your organization is not starting the process already, perhaps let's tag along and just take a look at the process of trying to come up with the understanding of leadership differentiators, okay? So typically, this is what happens in organizations, right? Every year, we crazy about strategies. The whole bunch of C-suite take a retreat somewhere with a fancy hotel, right? And come back with, this is the best idea in the world. We managed to come up with the new strategies, right? And the process is go like this. When they come back, everybody's waiting, like, what is a new announcement? And they always say something like, here is our new strategies. Here. What happens? You still live with the same level of capabilities. There's no process there, right? And then lead into actions, and then people screaming is, where is my new outcome? Where's my new result, right? I haven't seen it yet. Of course, you won't see it yet, right? Because the thing that you need to consider is it's not just about strategies, but the whole process of trying to identify the new level of capabilities, and that lead into actions, and that the new outcome and the new result. And HR cannot do it alone. The organization need to be able to synchronize, right? This is how I see the futures. This is the process that helped me to make it happen. This is the way that I can be sure that the outcome is there, the action is there, and then I get the result that I want. Okay, we all feel familiar with the promises, right? Every organization that you represent, you have firm brand, right? And then many times, we hope that our employees, smart employees, living with our promises. But many times it's not the case, right? What we promise and the actions from our employee and the outcome that our customer has been experienced might be two different things, okay? Just have some example for you. Just come on, this is afternoon session anyway, right? It's going to be really boring, just listen to me all the time. But this is the case that I want to show it to you that promise is promise, but let's hear from the customer as well. Okay, question is, some people start smiling already when I just show United. I haven't said anything yet, right? What come to your mind when, you see this kind of logo and symbol? That's okay, keep it to yourself. So this is the promise that United make, right, to the wider audience and potential target customer. If you're ready, please run the clips.
Where you go in life is up to you. There's one airline that can take you there. United. It's time to fly.
Is that the same experience that you experienced when flying United as well? No? Yes? Maybe? I'm not sure. Okay, but there's one customer, right? He fly United, and he experienced something, and he get frustrated, right? And at the end, because what United promise and what he experienced is different. Okay, so this guy is a musician. So like what all the musicians has done really well, right? When he get upset, he write a song, and this is the song about United. Let's take a look at what his message to United. Right? His name is Dave.
I flew United Airlines on my way to Nebraska. The plane departed Halifax, connecting in Chicago's O'Hare. While on the ground, a passenger said from the seat behind me, they're throwing guitars out there. The band and I exchanged a look, best described as terror, at the action on the tarmac, and knowing whose projectiles these would be. So before I left Chicago, I alerted 3 employees who showed complete indifference towards me. When we landed in Nebraska, I confirmed what I suspected. Mike Taylor had been the victim of a vicious act of malice at O'Hare. And so began a year-long saga of pass the buck, don't ask me, and I'm sorry, sir, your claim can go nowhere. United, you broke my Taylor guitar. United, some big help you are. You broke it, you should fix it. You're liable, just admit it. I should have flown with someone else or gone by car. 'Cause United breaks guitars.
All right, that's good. Okay, you got the message, right? The first day when Dave, released his clip, of course, in YouTube. Today, I think, first week, about 200,000 views. Within a month, it's about 5 million views. But interestingly, the thing is, within the first 2 weeks, United has lost about $1 billion in terms of stock value price because of this clip alone, right? So the question is, we keep debating about leadership development, differentiators, so on and so forth. But the real stuff is out there, right? Investor is chasing, customer is complaining, and your competitor is chasing you and beating you, right? So then we need to be a little bit more careful in terms of, okay, our investment in terms of leadership capabilities, right? Of course, differentiators and capability is not the easy thing to define or even make it happen, right? Organization capabilities, you need the whole system, which is, I think, we have listened to a lot of speakers already. We need the cultures, okay? What is the organization cultures to make this happen? Do you have system in place, right? To make sure that whatever the alignment is, the new strategy directions, you have the system in place to make it happen. Not just at the leadership level only, but employee level as well, down into the behaviors that your customer can experience, right? Competency and skill, okay? Every time when we invest in leadership development, every time when we invest in the wrong stuff, that's really cost money, right? Wrong programs, okay? And business process to make that happen. Okay, so that's not easy. I got that, but we need to start from somewhere. Okay, think about exceptional organizations. Google, just a logo, just a name. That conveys certain message and image to us. Something like this, right? People, new grads, your talents, crazy to work with Google. Why? Right? E-gears, perhaps nothing fancy, but we can expect the same stuff time and time again. Apple's, and by the way, anybody get iPhone 10 already? Probably not, right? It's called 10, not X, I guess. Okay, Apple's, got something like this. At that time, when Apple started Apple Retail, all the smart people just tease the Apple because you are totally get into the wrong directions. The smart way to do is go online, right? Think about Dell, think about Gateway, they just kill all the logistic and facility and infrastructures. But Apple just say that, okay, by the way, I think what we sell is beyond our products and software. We sell experience. And how can we just let third party to control the experience with our clients at the end of the value chain? It doesn't make sense. So that's why Apple started doing Apple Retail. And then, as many people just mentioned that this is one of the smartest thing that any business can make decision on, right? So the key message is, there's a strong connection with what you believe, your organization capabilities, and your staff behavior. And if you master that, okay, your organization can manage to come up with a strong leadership system, okay? Organization in our structures, think about leading organizations that we know, right? They stand for something that we all familiar with. The question is, how about your organizations? Think beyond typical leadership codes, 5 domains, boring, yes. Similar stuff, yes. 2,000 years old, yes. Right? But what difference, what makes difference your organization different from the rest? Okay, if your organization managed to identify that and has this system in place, to make sure that it's conveyed down to the employee levels, behavior, and then you have a strong futures. And if your leadership development program fail to do that, okay, that means you also fail as well, right? Because I just happened to run a 2-day sessions, off-site. And we use 360s, we use Hogan's, right? And at the end, from the group of new talent of 15, we do a post 360 once again. And by the way, we use a leadership codes. And as the people, as a person who engaged with this group for over a year, of course, I really excited to see, that the indicator point that, okay, all the 360 have a big jump and improvement, so I can brag back into the organizations and perhaps sell some more work with that organizations. But it's not the case, okay, which is, it takes me a while before I digest information and do understand what's going on. About 40% of the people in that program, obvious improvement in all areas. Right? And by the way, we use a lot of Hogan as well. Obvious improvements, right? 60%, indifferent, somewhat improved, at the same level. Certain rater group is improved. About 10% is no improved at all. Really depressing. And then it's come down to the question that it's not about the skill, isn't it? Okay, when you look at the people who somewhat improved, it's not because of lack of skill. But what become very clearly is lack of will to try and test and do what we learn in class. Think about, we keep talking about doing coaching, new managers, new trends. You're supposed to do coaching. You know all the fancy word and all the process, but I don't want to do it. I can't stand to face with my staff, right? There's only one version of me being tough and beat for the outcome. It's really difficult for me to change my behavior. So that's, hit back really hard that, it's any leadership development program, if you really want to see behavior, there should be a mechanism behind. You cannot rely on that a couple of fancy facilitators to make that happen. Okay, just want to share with you. Make it real, okay? In the end, there's no magic formulas, right? The peak performance, in our own versions coming from 3 big domains, right? Competence, commitments, and business contributions. Why? Think about it, right? If you have competent staff, really commit, but no business outcome, what happens? A bunch of hobbyists, right, doing it for fun, but no real business impact. Your organization cannot survive. Another scenario, really commit, right? Have some competence, but contributions, maybe for today, but competency in the future is in questions. You're happy today, right? How about futures? Don't you know what your computer is doing and getting busy at night? The last scenario is to have competent staff with a strong business contributions, but no real commitment to your organizations. And your recruitment manager is going to be really busy, right? Trying to fill in, the new people. Okay, so at the end, you need all three to come along together. And the good news is, congratulations, you come into the right place. Richard, I think Hogan is a great tool. Basically, if you really know Hogan's, and if you really know how to use it well, right, it's give you indicators, the right competency. We hear about from Mercer, and also from Miner as well. Okay, it's up to you. Once again, another key message is many organizations approach, the magic formula with indifferent perspective, which is, I think, is really wrong. You need to be particular. You need to be different, like what I want. What kind of competency, what kind of skill that I want, right? Beyond that as well, commitment. Do you know what their values, right? The motives and values, right? If you can match that, the chance is, like what we heard from another speaker, the tendency is they will stay with you a little bit longer periods, right? And also contributions. And all in all, it's combined to a peak performance for your organizations, right? Initially, I planned to end my presentation with the last slide, but since I think that a lot of practitioners in this room, I just want to share with you the real case that we roll out with one of the Thai clients of course, in Thailand, right? Another thing that I want to stress is Hogan is, over the years, as I mentioned, I certified since 2011. What I see a big improvement is the quality of Thai translation is there. Okay, perhaps not 100%, but 90%, 95% is there. And when we use it with, in this case, state enterprise, the client is feel like comfortable somewhat, right? That, okay, we are not just throwing jargons and out of the world words, to them, right? So this assignment is among like the biggest assessment center in Thailand. We basically CEO want to learn a little bit more about, okay, I want to know my team, right? Executive and N-1, 2, and 3. That's what she want to know. And then the assignment also, she want us to identify the successor. And then we run a big scale assessment, and then we decide to go with Hogan's, right? Because we really believe in the system as well. And after, a big effort in terms of assessment, and this is over nearly 100 people. So this is just to sum every level together. If you know a little bit about Hogan, right? If you not, just contact me or Richard, right? Basically, like you keep hearing about tree assessment, which is, people tend to use very frequent with Hogan's. MVPI stand for motive values, right? And sometimes they call insight. Right? People need insight, to start, doing some work and contribute and engage and so forth. SDS is development survey. Sometimes we call it dark side, right? Under stress, certain behavior has been emerged. And the last one is personalities inventories, right? Hogan HPI, right? For this group of new leaders for these organizations, this is the message. And to me, it's really risky. I have to make presentations to a board of directors with hundreds of people, And then I crying for, like, can I have a word with president first before we go with the big audience? The answer is no, she's so busy. So, imagine, a big conference. People want to hear the outcome from assessment. Okay, what is the future of our organization is going to be? And then this slide is showed up. Okay, and the message is something like this. Okay, your organizations, sorry to say, is in the trouble. Why? When we look at HPI, let's start with this. No one wants to step up. Ambition is really low. Either your organization system is something wrong, compensation is wrong, or they say that when they look up, I don't want to be my boss. Maybe it's too busy, a lot of politics issues, I don't want to step up. That's really clear, right? And then another thing is, and these organizations is really strong in terms of securities and science, right? Everything is take time. People hold on into what I know. They're resistant to change as well, right? So that's the issue to other organizations. And HDS also point out that if there is an issue in our organizations, people moving away, we not talk to each other. Either I move back to my office, either I just shut down my communications. So obviously, 3 things that we can find out for this, the whole exercise, right? People don't want to step up. Organization have a communication issues, and then you focus on the wrong thing. Imagine 100 people and then stand up, president is fair enough, smart lady, she embraced it, she get the message right away, and then, okay, let's focus on what priorities, okay? So basically, I end up my presentation with the same old slide, right? That's, okay, magic formula is, there's no such thing as a magic formulas, but there's some kind of framework that you can follow, and then, but the biggest question is, what is your versions of leadership differentiators, and whether or not you have a process to make that happen or not, okay? I end my presentation, the last slide. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much indeed, Dr. Nattavut, and really a fascinating presentation, actually. I learned a lot from that. You will be joining the speaker panel, so if we could hold over some questions for that, would that be okay in the interest of time?
Yeah,
but
you
thank
need
you
to
so
move
much
on.
indeed, yeah. So.